time to get ready. You say that the ancients have also foreseen the current Biden-Afghanistan conflict as a catalyst for the end times. But how could they foresee that, and why is it this connection there? Do you understand what I just said?
Yeah, I do. And just before I answer that, let me add one more thing about what Strauss and Howe wrote in their book, The Fourth Turning, that people will find fascinating. This is all documented in the book. But they said during the Fourth Turning, America is going to get a new president. They referred to him as the Gray Champion, and by that they mean gray hair. And they say that he could likely be the oldest American president in history. He is going to be one of the personalities in Washington that sets in motion this countdown to the year 2025 and a totalitarian world government. So again, with their level of accuracy, you have to look at now the great champion that's sitting on the throne in Washington, D.C., and all of the policy, including foreign policy, that he is putting in place right now that are major trigger events towards Armageddon, towards catastrophic situations that are under development right now, Afghanistan and around the world. Global Governance 2025 is another study that was done over 10 years ago. Now, people can go to Google and they can just type in Global Governance 2025 and literally download the PDF and read the report for themselves. But this was from the highest intelligence agencies in the United States. It was a multinational study working with, I think, something like 13 countries across Europe. And what was this report about? Get this, Jim. They came together to say, what might be the future scenarios that could represent an existential threat, that is a threat that could bring about the death of everything on Earth. You know, what could possibly create such a scare that would then require, this was their point, that would then require all of the nations of the world to lay down their differences with one another and to come together in mutual defense of one another against this existential threat. Almost reminds me of what your old friend Ronald Reagan said when he spoke before the United Nations, and he said, I often wonder if an alien threat would cause all of the nations of the world to set aside their differences and come together. Well, that's what this study was about, although they don't identify aliens as the threat. They maybe they will next time around with the new Pentagon report, right? So what did they foresee? They foresaw the possibility of the incoming of an asteroid, that by the year 2025 becomes evident that this is more of a threat than we thought it was going to be. Can somebody say Apophis 2029? Because 2025 is when it will start becoming visible, and it's what I believe is the biblical wormwood from Revelation chapter 8. And we can talk more about that if you want to.
It's definitely in the Bible.
It's definitely in the Bible. They talk about that. They also, 10 years ago, they also talked about the possibility of a contagion, a coronavirus, that would set in motion these different events that ultimately, that's actually in the title of their article, Global Governance 2025, the arrival of a totalitarian world government. Then there is, of course, the strange connection. We did shows, you offer the book through your ministry of The Messenger. So we did shows, we won't repeat all that information, but there is that strange caveat that the original date given by NASA is Friday the 13th of all days, April 2029. If you take that date and you back up 3.5 years exactly, because if it is wormwood, most Bible scholars believe that happens during the middle of the 7-year tribulation period. So if it is wormwood, then you want to find out when the beginning of the Great Tribulation could be. It brings you right into the middle of the year 2025. So what I started discovering is a whole concatenation of events and prophecies dating back for thousands of years to 25 years ago to 10 years ago, and over this date of all dates leaps off the page as that moment in time when secular historians, intelligence agencies, and even ancient prophets named that year as the beginning of the end for the human race. And when I say ancient prophets, I'm talking about the ancient Essenes. Now, you said that the ancient Essenes, over 2,000 years ago, predicted that the world will enter its final age in the year 2025. You asked me to say something about that. So I wanted to give you the fact that it's not just a bunch of old guys that lived in caves and, in the desert outside of Jerusalem. There are experts today who believe this too. But what did the ancient